So, Dante, my name is Sage Blake. I'm a wanderer, storyteller, artist and mature, and we're back with more 9 Hours, 9 Doors, 9 Persons. After a 2-week hiatus. Again, I had to do some stuff to get some medical licenses, because work mandates that I have a CPI and CPR license apiece. At that, I'm gonna have to hold myself to something. I'm going to finish the title card eventually. However, I need to warm myself back up to it since it's been a while since I've done actually any drawing on the computer. I've been super busy. So, I'm gonna make a deal with y'all. I'm gonna do my best to finish it by the time I finish this project. If I do finish it, then I'll show it off, but otherwise, it'll probably just go up onto the Discord and y'all can do whatever you want with it. But with that aside, back to escape rooms. They left the operating room. The hallway took them around several corners and past several doors, but they were all locked. On refresher, I believe we came into this route with Clover and Seven? The final door was hidden in a corner of the hall. Junpei grabbed the handle. As he made to push it open, a voice stopped him.
Jumpy!
He saw someone running toward him from the other end of the hallway. 3 people, coming toward Junpei and his companions. Santa, Lotus, June. They pulled up short, breathing hard.
What the hell's this?
What are you doing here? But we didn't... Before we could finish, Clover spoke.
Hey, guys! Could you come take a look at this?
She was standing near the edge of a small hallway that branched off to the right. The rest of them ran over, curious to see what she'd found. There was something on the wall at the end of the hall. A map of the ship's interior. It said Sea Deck in the upper left corner. It was, they assumed, a map to the floor they were on. Door 7, Door 8. Both eventually led to the hallway they found themselves in. In fact...
Yeah, isn't that what I said? We aren't going to be split up permanently till we find door 9. We might get separated for a little while, but we'll see each other again. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to open door 9. That's how the nonary game works.
Junpei looked at the map of the ship's interior again. As he looked more closely, his surprise and excitement gave way to weariness. One by one, the others saw what he'd seen. They moved as one for the door. He pulled the map off the wall, put it in his pocket. Followed the others. The 6 of them stood in front of the door, arrayed in a semicircle. Santa stepped forward. He took hold of the door, spoke without looking back.
Ready?
I'm gonna open it. They nodded their silent assent, and with a deep breath, Santa opened the door. Even without looking around, each of them knew where they were. The same room they'd been in not so long ago. I see. I believe I understand what you're saying. The 6 of you split into 2 teams, went through doors 7 and 8. You solved the puzzles in the operating room and the laboratory, then met one another in the hallway after opening your respective locked doors. At any rate, I feel a bit silly for my little show of altruism. I'm sure you'll be back for me. I did hope you would come back, but I confess I didn't think you'd be back so soon. Ace shook his head with a rueful smile.
Well, we saw each other again. We ain't dead. So I say that's good enough. Anyway, I say we get out of this creepy old place. We found the key we need.
The key.
Ain't that what I just said? I'm talking about the Jupiter key. We found it in the operating room. Right, Jin?
Alright, the solar system keys. Actually, we found one in the laboratory, too. Earth key. I might lose it. It's probably better if you hold on to it. That way, it won't be my fault if it gets lost. With that, she pressed into Junpei's hand. He felt slightly less than honored. As a group, they had 3 keys that hadn't been used. Jupiter, Saturn, Earth. The Jupiter key is supposed to be for the door at the end of the long, straight hallway, right?
Yep. If that map's right, it connects to the central staircase. Then next to the stairs.
Wait. They were the first words anyone had said Zed heard from Clover in a while. Her face suggested they weren't going to be very happy words. What about door 3?
Look, you saw the map, right? It's the same as 7 and 8. It'll just lead us back to the big hospital room. There's no point seeing what's on the other side.
There is a point. At least there is for me. There were tears in her eyes, but she glared at 7 as hard as she could, just the same. She looked very much like a frightened puppy. There was a man alive who could have resisted. 7 looked everywhere in the room except at Clover, muttered, coughed apologies. Yeah, you're right. Sorry. Snake might be on the other side of door 3. Clover nodded once. The next person to speak. Very well. I'll be coming with you then. I've had a nice long rest. I think it's time I was up and about again. So, 7, you'll help me, won't you?
Me?
Well, 4, 1, and 7 would yield a digital root of 3. It only makes sense.
Damn. Well, I guess that's how it's gotta be. I'm going with you, huh?
Yes, you are.
Let's get moving.
So it was decided the 3 of them would discover what lay beyond door 3.
Alright, we're now.
Be careful.
Didn't think I'd hear that from you, Lotus.
Don't let it get to your head. I'd be in trouble if the 3 of you bought it. The rest of us can't open the 9 door.
That's it. The truth comes out.
7 nodded, as if the answer made more sense. Then pulled the red. Alright, we should get moving too. Get moving?
Where are we going?
Everyone except Lotus seemed confused. Well, it'd be a waste of time to just sit around, wouldn't it? Let me explain. And if I remember correctly, from here, it's mostly scenes we've already seen. But yeah, in the interim of 2 weeks ago and now, I bought a bunch of games, so yay, that's always nice. A couple of them have already appeared on stream, such as Gunfire Reborn and also Manhunt World. I have a few others that I can hold on to as well, that I'm holding on to as well, specifically as ideas for single-player game clearing projects in the future. One of which being Rune Factory 4. I feel like that one especially might be an interesting one to go over. Because 1, adjustable difficulty right from the outset, which is nice. 2, it gives me an opportunity to style and do a challenge run, because I like being a derp like that. 3, I like Rune Factory? And at that, 4, it's also technically in its own right a bit of a story-based sandbox kind of thing. It's a farming sim, yes, but at the same right, it incentivizes you doing a lot of preparations and careful planning and making sure that you're capable enough for the next story beat that you could actually handle it, but not so much that you're stopping it. Aside from that, I have been enjoying Monhunt World. I wasn't expecting it, honestly. Like, I played the demos of Monhunt 3, Monhunt 4, Monhunt Rise, and they gave a drastically different message of Monster Hunter than the actual game does, if that makes sense. Like, the standard demos for those 3 games were like, oh hey, here's a list of every single weapon, pick one, and fight one specific monster, and that's it. No feel for the upgrade system, no feel for the mission system, no feel for why you need to be collecting materials and crafting and everything of the like. It feels decidedly emptier. And I guess less interesting. Maybe at some point I'll, like, do a multiplayer thing with Monhunt World. Who knows? Alright, it's time for this now. Seven all told. They were all written in papers, pulled from Junpei's notebook. Each bore a code name and a door. Why'd they decide to vote this way? Well, it wasn't fair to simply ask everyone all at once. That would allow people to force others to go through certain doors they didn't want to go through. No, that wasn't the only reason. Junpei proposed the voting system. And he had a plan. It wasn't a plan he wanted anyone catching wind of, though. He did his best to act calm as he opened and read the pieces of paper. Ace requests door 1. Yes, I do. Would you like to hear me explain why? No, we don't have the time for that. Sorry. Let's keep going. Next, Santa. He wants door 6. Yeah, that's what I wrote. Clover wants 1, Lotus wants 2, 7 also wants 2. Huh? Wait a minute! There's no way I'm going anywhere with that elephant man! Yeah, well, there's no point to the voting if we let people change their choices because of stuff like that. But... Just give it a rest, Lotus. It's not like I want to hang out with some exhibitionist grandma. I'm not an exhibitionist, I'm wearing clothes. Barely. So? Last I checked, that's not a crime. Maybe, but what about common decency? Nobody wants to have to look at the chick who's looked like a half-naked raisin. I'm gonna kill you! Well, he does deserve it, at least partially.
Junpei, read the rest.
Right. June wants door 6.
Yeah, I don't really have a reason. I just felt like it.
Alright. It took him less than a second to run the numbers. He opened his 7th paper. I want to go through door 1. Hey, wait a minute there. You cheating? Cheating? I'm asking if you changed your number after you heard what doors we wanted. How could I do that? I wrote it down on the paper earlier. Let me see that. Santa examined it furiously. The others peered at it as well. As they did, Junpei slipped the others into his pocket. Though he'd never know it now, Santa had been justified. Junpei had cheated. 3 separate papers for doors 1, 2, and 6. His own, with door 6, was already in the pot. He'd put a small mark on it, so he'd know which one was his. He then put the paper that said door 1 in his left, and door 2 in his right hand. Once the draw began, he saw to it he'd draw last. The rest was easy. If he wanted to go into door 1, he'd use his left hand. Door 2, his right. Door 6, he'd say nothing. Hello, Zaya. Welcome. Need you numb? Yes. Just yes. Well, what does it say? You got lucky. Very well. We've decided who will go through door 1. It'll be Clover, Junpei, and myself. Our only problem is the 2 remaining teams. June and I want door 6. Lois and I want door 2.
That's not good. We can't open either of those doors with only 2 people. Fine. 7, we'll go through door 6.
Sure thing. Didn't really want to go through door 2 anyway. Besides, we got a younger girl with us, a little over the average age. Right, June?
Well, that
pig. You just wait and see. Even after they separated at the staircase, Lotus was still muttering angrily. Circumstances dictated that Junpei and June would have to part ways again, but this time it didn't sting. After all, he knew he'd see her again. Junpei, Ace, and Clover headed toward A deck. They took out the Earth Key and opened the door to the left. Just as Santa and Lotus had said, at the end of the hall was a door with a large red 1. A numbered door. To the left of it, bolted to the wall, was the red. Ace went first. Then Junpei. Then Clover. Ace took hold of the lever, took a deep breath. You ready? She'll like pull it. Anytime. Clover said nothing. She nodded, a little more than a lethargic twitch of the head. Very well then. Let's go. And now we're in this room. Junpei could feel his heart pounding against the inside of his ribs. Ace and Clover were breathing hard and fast. It was, after all, the third time they'd been through this process. They hadn't grown used to it. Not that Junpei wanted to. He planned to finish the game before he got a chance to let imminent death become commonplace. He looked around, this time more slowly. As a vehicle goes by the house. Really, dude? I get it, you like to rev your engines, but is now the time or place? Actually, it is a weekend. So maybe. There's another door, different from the one they'd entered through. He took hold of the knob and easily, gently, bolted it open. So this is the wheelhouse. He fixed each in turn, with a meaningful stare. Ace, you investigate the wheelhouse next door. Very well, then. Clover, you're in this room. Come on, say something.
Okay, I will.
Alright, let's get started. Seek the way out that we've already done before. Let's see how quickly I can clear this. There's the map. Now, if I remember correctly, I can interact with this thing. There we go, there's that watch. Oh, a pocket watch. Away, Snout. Thanks, Zaya. I just thought I'd check up on the two of you. Is there a problem? Well, not a problem, but... all Junpei wanted was to get rid of Ace. He'd sent Ace to the wheelhouse at the beginning for a reason. There's something he meant to ask Clover, and he meant to ask her in private. He didn't want anyone else to hear it. He also knew Clover would likely remain silent if there were anyone else when he asked. That's why he was so desperate to send Ace back to the wheelhouse. Ace opened his mouth and took another look at Junpei and shut it. A small smirk appeared on his face. Oh, I see. Of course. He looked at Junpei, then Clover. I apologize for the intrusion. Well, best of luck. Ace gave Junpei a knowing pat on the shoulder and left. Gah. Ugh. Clover regarded Junpei with caution.
What was that about?
She was clearly suspicious, and with good reason. Junpei's eyes widened. He held up his hands in a gesture of innocence. No, it's nothing like that.
What's it like, then?
I just want to hear the rest of that story. I didn't get a chance to ask you about it until now.
What story?
The experiment. Remember? The one you started to tell me in the operating room. You said something about an experiment that happened here 9 years ago. Clover bit her lip. She stared down at the floor for several long moments. When she spoke, it was barely audible.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to talk about that right now. I'm just not in the mood, okay? You understand, right? I keep thinking about my brother. I can't stop. I mean, who would do something like that to my brother? I can't forgive them. I'm not gonna let them get away with it. They're gonna pay for it. I promise. So...
Her shoulders were shaking. Drops of blood had sprung up on her lips where she was biting them. She wiped it off, looked up at Junpei, her eyes fierce and angry.
Junpei, who do you think did it?
Her voice was cold, scarcely above a whisper. Well, if what Seven said was right, there would have to be at least 2 of them. You need at least 3 people to open the numbered doors, and if you subtract Snake, that means there are at least 2 other people.
You're right. So what does that mean?
Well, if we look at the bracelet numbers, we should be able to figure it out. Who could have opened door 3 with Snake? Well, really, who and who, or who and who?
You mean it could have been 4 people?
Technically, it's possible.
I don't know. That doesn't seem likely.
Okay.
I'll tell you later. Why don't we just assume there was only 2 other people for now?
Okay, let's do that then.
Who do you think it could be?
Well, Snake's bracelet is 2. Which 2 bracelet numbers adding to 2 would give a digital root of 3. And we have a massive number of options. Any option that produces a total of 10 would work in this case. Because our target is to hit the number 12, which will get us the digital root of 3. So, by the look of it, Ace is completely out of the question, because his highest total would be 1 and 8, which is 9, which would yield a digital root of 2. She's a 10, but I'm a 5 in her digital root, so don't make 9. Yeah, I think that's DR6. So let's see. Next up is Santa. So Santa being 3, it would have to be Santa and 7. If we were to suspect June, that would be 8, so we would need us, Junpei, which would be impossible. Seven and Lotus would be 7 and 8, 17, which would yield DR 8, so that's impossible. Are Santa and 7 the killers?
What's wrong?
Clover looked at Junpei. He looked back at her. There wasn't a point to hide it.
That's what I thought.
She looked less surprised than he'd expected.
Santa and 7. If there's 2 people, that's the only combination that works.
Wait. So don't you think it's a little too early to be jumping to conclusions? All I said is those 2 would have been able to open door 3 with your brother. There might be other possibilities.
Well, what other possibilities?
He didn't have an answer. He was ready to admit defeat when Clover spoke.
You saying you think it was 3 or 4 people? I really don't think that's likely.
Okay.
Can I borrow your pen?
Junpei pulled it out. His paper as well. She opened the notebook, wrote down several simple addition problems. Eventually, she had 8, which provided a digital root of 3. 1, 3, 6, 1, 4, 5, 4, 7, 8, 5, 6, 8, 1, 3, 7, 8, 1, 4, 6, 8, 1, 5, 6, 7, 3, 4, 5, 7.
These are all the combinations for 3 or 4 people. They're the only possible ones, too.
I see.
Junpei?
Yeah?
I can trust you, right?
Of course. Why would you need to ask that?
Really?
Yeah.
So I should get rid of B, D, G, and H, right?
Of course. Just cross them out. And you should take off yours, too. The ones with 4.
So what does that leave?
A and E. Wait, it can't be A.
Why not?
June's in that one. There's no way in hell she'd do something like that.
Are you sure?
I bet my life on it.
Okay then. I'll cross off A too. Then what have we got left?
E.
You know what this means?
Everyone besides me, you, and June.
Do you think that's likely?
Uh,
If there were 4 people working together, they wouldn't be very cautious. I don't think they'd try that hard to hide what they were doing if they outnumbered us.
you do have a point.
And besides, if Ace and Seven are working together, they could have easily gotten rid of me when I went to the shower room with them. But they didn't. They didn't even try anything. If they were the killers, why wouldn't they?
Her voice was calm, but Junpei had only one look to know it was forced. There were tears forming at the corners. She was blinking furiously to keep them back. Maybe by attempting objective analysis of who might have killed her brother, she had been able to distance herself from the harsh reality of his death. The more she struggled to act unconcerned, the more Junpei felt his heart tighten. Okay. Then that does make sense. It seems unlikely that it was as many as 3 or 4 people. That also means that's a good chance it was 7 in Santa.
That's how it looks.
But why? There's a moment of silence.
I think I know.
Really? He laid his hand gently on her shoulder. He was close. So close to the answer. And of course, Ace chose the worst possible moment to return. Have I interrupted something? What do you want? There's something I want to speak with you about, Junpei. Could you come with me for a moment? He turned on his heel, walked toward the wheelhouse. Junpei looked over at Clover. He gave a short nod, hoping he'd be willing to talk that she'd be willing to talk again, and followed Ace. What'd you need to talk about? There was something I wanted to check. That being, if you'll excuse me. Hey! What the hell are you doing? Just as I thought. You switched them, didn't you? When we voted. Oh well, I can't say I care. I managed to get through the numbered door I wanted, despite your mischief. And why did you... Oh, simple curiosity. I hope you won't think ill of me for it. Ace smiled, gave Junpei a friendly pat on the shoulder, turned on his heel, and left. It was a small defeat, but a defeat nonetheless. Alright, and now to continue with the wheelhouse. I believe I was missing something in this room. That takes care of that. So I believe next should be... Okay, not the steering wheel. Not the watch. I never fully remember this part of the room. There we go. Unfortunately, I forgot the combination, so I'm gonna need to check the file, look it up. Okay, so south, west, southwest, northwest, east, north. There we go. And I believe the speeds were like full, half. No, wait, I think it was like full half slow, full half dead stop. Oh, good, I remembered it. Pocket watch realigned. In the lock. And there we go. Quick and easy. Oh yes, telegraph key. These were used to transmit Morse code a long time ago. This must be the communication office. Captain's quarters. Then do you think...
Well, we won't know if we don't open it.
Hello, handsome. Seems you've been hitting the bottle a little too hard. What is this, red wine? Jeez, how uncultured. Everyone knows if you want to get drunk, you invest in a nice Chardonnay. At least. At that, you don't chug it. You gently sip. Oh, and an axe too? Dude, there are better bottle openers than an axe. What are you, a Viking? Okay, enough of my ribbing. Time to handle the next puzzle room. With the Morse code. Alright, the music box. Do I need to, like, investigate the monitors at all? I think so. What about him? Do you think that's really Zero?
There's no way. Didn't I tell you already? Zero is one of us.
Yeah, right. Well, even if he wasn't one of us, there's no way he could be Zero. Don't you get it? The letters that spell Zero on the TV screen, the captain's clothing he's got, and of course the bracelet with the Zero on it. It's too obvious. Look, this is Zero, right here! This dead body is Zero. Doesn't that seem kind of funny to you?
You're right. Only an idiot wouldn't see something like that.
No, that's not the point. I'm not trying to make fun of them for thinking a trick like this would work. I'm sure they didn't think it'd work, which makes me wonder why they did it. I think it's a challenge. A challenge from the person who's really behind all this. They're making fun of us. Don't you get it? If whoever killed this guy really wanted us to think this corpse was Zero, they'd never have put a bracelet on him. Walking about with a Zero bracelet would be like hanging a sign around your neck that said, "Yes, I did it!" Anyone with a brain would be able to see this guy is supposed to look like everything Zero is supposed to be. But he's not. Just like we did. The killer must have known we wouldn't think he was Zero and put the bracelet on him anyway. You know why?
Why?
Like I said, he's mocking us.
Too bad, suckers. This isn't Zero.
It's the same bad joke a lot of criminals like to play. They'll just sit back and watch people run in circles.
Look, here I am. What's wrong with you guys? Come on, catch me if you can.
It's really twisted. It almost seems childish.
Exactly. It is. It's like it's just a game to whoever this person is. That's what seems funny to me. Right, let's get back to the point. Who killed this man?
I don't know.
What's his deal? Who is he?
How would I know? If I knew anything, I would have told you.
You have no idea.
Why would I?
Point. Jinpei sat back on his haunches and thought. Maybe we should check to see if he's got anything that can tell us who he is. Give me a hand?
What?
We gotta flip him over. Hell, also we gotta search his pockets. Clover didn't move. And stopped Junpei from trying to shift the body. He grabbed hold of an area not completely covered in blood and shot it. It took a moment, but he eventually felt his bulk shift. But as it did, something fell from his left wrist. The Zero bracelet. Junpei stared at the bracelet. He's dead.
Huh?
It's just, I guess I didn't really think about it until now. If his bracelet's off, he's dead.
Well, it's pretty obvious he's dead. You don't really need to look at the bracelet to figure that out.
Yeah, I guess you're right. That's pretty obvious. It looks a lot better than the other bodies we've seen, you know? I mean, if there wasn't all this blood, he'd almost look like he was still alive. I mean, I know it's kind of a messed up thing to say, but he kind of has it better, you know? Dying from a bomb going off inside you, I mean, that's just... Some of Snake's bones went right through his skin. I think the explosion threw him against the wall or something. Broken bones sticking out of his left arm. Jinpei realized what he was saying. How could he have been so cruel? He clapped his hands over his mouth. But it was too late. He turned to look at Clover, and she was glaring at him furiously.
What did you just say?
Her words were cold. He knew an apology could hardly atone for what he'd done, but he tried anyway. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have said that. I really don't know what I was thinking. I mean...
No, that's not what I'm talking about. What did you say about his arm?
Arm?
Yes, His left arm. You said it, right?
Well, I did, but didn't you see it too?
Of course not. How could I look at my own dead brother? Are you sure it was his left arm?
Junpei thought back. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
A broken bone in his left arm?
The hell are you getting at here?
Just shut up and answer.
She shoved her face closer. He could see the fire in her eyes. Junpei winced, swallowed. Yeah, he did. It was pretty bad, too. Bone was sticking out of the arm. No sooner were the words out of his mouth than Clover's expression changed. She was crying. Junpei wasn't sure what to do.
Thank you.
It was close to the last thing he'd expected to hear. Junpei had no idea what just happened. He didn't think he'd done anything worthy of thanks, and couldn't understand why she would have chosen that moment to cry. So he stood there, confused.
Thank you, Junpei.
She thanked him again, and then something stranger happened. She threw herself into Junpei's arms. What's going on with you?
I'm sorry, I'm happy.
Why?
The body. It isn't Snake.
What? Why would you think that?
His left arm, it's... Sorry. I shouldn't be talking about this.
Junpei decided it'd be prudent not to press for information. If she didn't want to tell him, she had a reason for it. Maybe more importantly, if Clover was so certain, she was probably right. The body in the shower room wasn't Snake. It wasn't much, but that knowledge lifted some of the weight from Junpei's heart.
He's still alive. I'm so happy.
Tears shone in her eyes. Those tears melted Junpei's heart. As she cried, she pushed herself up against his chest, like a child. Junpei put his arms around her, held her.
You were right. No matter what happens, you can never lose hope. You have to remember what's most important. To have faith, love. If you can remember all of that, you'll have good luck.
Clover reached into her pocket, pulled out the bookmark.
I only made it here because you gave me this. I was suspicious of everyone, angry, miserable. But with the Clover, because of what you said to me,
Junpei hadn't thought his words would have had such an effect. Her words were making him feel awkward.
Thank you, Junpei.
He scratched his nose, pretended to notice something interesting in the other room. If you really want to thank someone, maybe Santa?
Why?
He was the one who gave me that thing. And the words for each leaf? From him as well. Clover broke away suddenly. Eh? He hadn't thought she'd react that poorly. Clover paced. 6 to the left, 6 steps to the right, 6 to the back, 6 hops this time. And then she stopped.
Did Santa really tell you that?
Yeah? Did I say something wrong?
Not at all. In fact, this is good news, I think.
You think?
Santa knew the words about the Clover. The only people who should know about that are the other subjects.
What?
The other people in the experiment 9 years ago. My brother, me, Santa. But Snake is blind. I was part of the Nevada test group. Neither of us would have been able to recognize the faces of the people who were on the boat.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Time out, time out. Junpei took a breath. Let's just calm down for a second, okay? Start from the top. Don't start with the end and jump to the middle. Start sequentially. 1, 2, 3, 4, so on. If you don't tell me stuff in the right order, I'm never going to be able to figure it out.
Okay, let's start with the experiment. What happened on the boat 9 years ago? Do you know about morphogenetic fields?